I don't see nobody else on that level of Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, besides Canelo, and he fights at 168 plus. So I don't see me and him fighting. So
What's the highest you could fight at realistically?
I would say 154 realistically.
154.
You know,
So
them boys get big up there. Them boys get big up there. And I'm not a person to, you know, toot my own horn too loud to be able to say, oh well, I can beat the world. You know, I understand there's weight classes for a reason, and I respect the weight classes.
Crawford is a great fighter. He's a good fighter, but you know, like I say, he's a weight classes for a reason.
Canelo Alvarez started his pro career in 2005 when he was 15 years old at junior welterweight, or 140 pounds. He never made 140 again, and by the time he was 20, he had already outgrown junior welterweight and welterweight and was campaigning at super welterweight for his first major belt, or 154 pounds. Shortly thereafter, and as the A side, aka the main attraction and without a belt, Canelo started fighting super welterweights +1, contractually bringing the weight limit to 155 as he struggled at 154, or at least found it advantageous. Within the next 4 years, Canelo would move up to middleweight, then super middleweight, and even had a fight at light heavyweight by the time he was 29 years old in 2019. Then he would drop back down and campaign for undisputed at super middleweight, or 168 pounds. In comparison, when Terrence Crawford was 16, he was fighting at lightweight in the amateurs, which is a weight limit of 132 pounds. In 2008, when he turned pro at 20 years old, he entered into the lightweight division, where he would spend 6 years fighting in between 135 and 140 before campaigning for his first major belt at 135. He didn't officially move up to 140 until he was 27 years old, where he would spend 3 years at that division, then finally move up to welterweight at 30 years old. 6 years later, in 2024, he moved up to 154, a weight Canelo Alvarez hasn't made in 9 years, and has said repeatedly throughout the years that he can't make.
And does that mean that there's a chance we can see you fight at 154 again, maybe against Terrence Crawford?
I think I can make 154. Sorry, buddy.
Side note.
Man, listen, let me tell you, man. He should have been at 68 a long time ago, but, you know, myself, just make him take advantage of 35, 40, 47. If you can make it, let's make it. After he accomplished everything they accomplished, you can't be mad at him when he say, hey man, fuck that shit, man. I'm gonna fight Canelo at 168. When he naturally walk around big any goddamn way.
Shout out to Coach Bomac. He's doing his job promoting the fight and talking shit. But think about it for a second. Name me another fighter who fights at super middleweight that could take advantage of 135 or 140 or 147. There's another 5'8" fighter that fights at super middleweight. His name is Christian Billy, and even as a teen in the amateurs, and Billy fought at middleweight. There's no real comparison. Remember this?
Everybody know who the champion is at 147, who the king is. And he's too small. He's too small. He little. He light in the ass.
Hey, look. Ain't nobody say Floyd was lighting in the ass.
That's little man right there. The little man right there. You know what I'm saying?
Terrence, will you guys ever fight?
Yeah, we'll fight. He's too small.
But back to the point. There's no question that Canelo is a naturally bigger fighter than Crawford. Currently, both fighters can eat more calories than they burn and gain weight. Shout out most of America. But only one can make weight at anything lower than 160 pounds and not virtually or literally die trying to fight. With that fact established, Crawford is moving up 2 weight divisions to 168 pounds to fight Canelo Alvarez, which has proven to be a daunting task throughout boxing history and is clearly an uphill battle for Crawford. The challenge of moving up 2 weight classes immediately leaves question marks for spectators that can only be answered on fight night. How well will Crawford carry the extra weight into the ring? What kind of punch resistance will Crawford have at 168? But the main question in my mind is, will Crawford be willing to deploy his whole skill set in the fight? For example, Crawford is one of the best or the best counterpuncher in boxing, and countering opportunities are there against Canelo. The reason I didn't ask the typical question, will Crawford's power carry, is because I know it can based on the nature of his counterpunches. Crawford specializes in catching opponents with counterpunches that they don't see and therefore aren't bracing for, which means the punches don't need to be relatively powerful to have devastating effect or at least judge-pleasing effect. But typically, in order to land these types of counterpunches, Crawford has to be set at range and in the line of fire. So again, will Crawford be willing to do that 2 weight divisions up against a naturally bigger fighter? How many risks will he take? Will he be able to deploy his entire skill set like he's fighting any other fighter at 147 or 154? It's the main question in my mind because we already know Canelo is coming with educated pressure. He will attempt to be in range and in front of Crawford regardless of Crawford's strategy and tactics. Due to size, past Canelo opponents have decided the risk was too great and overutilized lateral movement, which never worked out for them on the judges' scorecards. Could it work for Crawford? Unlikely. So what will it be? Will Crawford ultimately decide that size and weight classes matter and be more cautious? Or did he build his body and mind up enough to withstand punches at 168 and be willing to stay in the fire? I guess we'll find out September 13th. What makes Canelo vs. Crawford at super middleweight so intriguing is it takes the pound for pound same weight fantasy and drops it into real world physics of weight, frame, and mass. Canelo carries more natural weight and density at 168. Crawford would have added artificial weight, and in boxing, mass gain isn't equal to mass grown. Instead of pretending that they're the same size, you have to respect the fact that they're not.